Autism is defined as a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, communicate, learn, and behave. Now, why do we say that? Well, what we're talking about is those of us who are autistic, how do we take that and optimize it to our benefit and to the benefit of others, to help ourselves and to help others? Well, first we have to know what autism is. That's kind of a definition, but it says there's a developmental disorder, and it makes it difficult or affects how we interact with others, communicate, learn, how we behave. And those are subjective terms. I mean, they're kind of general. How we behave, that could be just about anything, right? But when I went to the National Health Service and I looked at their definition, they kind of refined it a little bit. And it pointed out 3 characteristics of those of us who are autistic. And keep in mind, what we're talking about is how to optimize these characteristics. So the first of the 3 is finding it hard to understand what others are thinking or feeling. The second is getting very anxious about social situations. And number 3 is finding it hard to make friends or preferring to be on your own. Most people who are autistic don't like to be around other people because of the anxiety, the social pressure. Not necessarily knowing what to say, being rejected, being the guy who stands in the corner. The proverbial wallflower. We don't understand what other people are thinking. We don't understand why they're thinking that. And typically that will come back and hurt us. You already know that. All right, so we take these traits, right? Finding it hard to make friends, preferring to be on our own, getting anxious about social situations, not wanting to go to school or work for that matter because of the stress. How do we optimize that? Well, we've got 10 things for you. And the first thing is this: find power in gratitude. I think maybe a better way to say that is find power in good things, or maybe look for the positive. And here's why. If you are a typical person, not just an autistic person, but anybody, we tend to gravitate toward the negative. Nearly everybody is a contrarian. You don't have to be autistic to be a contrarian. For example, if you have ever been on the internet and you leave a comment on, say, a video like this one, or maybe on Facebook, there's a good chance that somebody has shown up and disagreed with you for no apparent reason, just because people tend to be contrarians. If you start talking to someone about, I don't know, nutrition or politics or religion, chances are they're going to argue with you because we like to find negative things. We like to find flaws. But what would happen if we empowered or optimized our autism by being different? Because we are different. We're not neurotypical. So let's embrace the difference and let's run with it. So here's what I want to challenge you to do. I want you to maybe even do this literally. I mean, you could do it in your head, but maybe do it on a computer, notepad, or take out a pen and paper, the old-fashioned way, and ask yourself this question, make a list, and say, what did my parents not have that I have? What do I have access to that they did not have access to? And then ask the same question about your grandparents. And you just keep going back, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents. And while you're at it, you might just want to look around you right now. And you can see things that you've got that your parents didn't have. And maybe not just your parents, maybe you. When I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, we were at the cutting edge of technology. We had telephones. We had televisions. We had automobiles. We had airplanes. I mean, we thought, this is it. I mean, we've reached the apex of technology. I actually have a landline sitting on my desk right now that for all practical purposes is obsolete. I don't even know why I have it. It's just here. But back in the day being 1950s, they had these dials on the telephone, and you'd stick your finger in the phone and you'd dial it. And just to save money, a lot of people were on a party line because you don't use the phone all the time. So why are you paying for it if it's just sitting there, right? So other people are using it while you're not using it. And sometimes you get on the phone, somebody is using the line because you're on a party line. So you just wait. You'll make your phone call later. Unless you're rude, then you try to get the person off the phone, which happens sometimes. Especially if you're a kid and you're talking to somebody and somebody else gets on the line, they try to get you off. We don't have that anymore. We've got something different. Now, I mentioned making a list on a notepad. I mean, pencil and paper, pen and paper. But I make notes on my computer. Didn't do that when I was a kid. My parents didn't do that. My grandparents didn't do that. They didn't have computers. They did not know what computers were. I don't think my grandparents ever heard the word computer. I don't know, because my grandparents died before I was born, except for one, my maternal grandmother. I think maybe I was 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there when she died, so I didn't really know them. But I kind of doubt they knew what computers were. And here I am using them. You know, they didn't have Zoom or anything. Well, you know, when I was an adult, we didn't have Zoom and those things a few years ago. So find power in gratitude, and a good way to do that is just simply ask yourself, what do you have that your parents didn't have, and your grandparents, and your great-grandparents? And it's amazing the things that you would come up with. Go back to the mid 1800s, you know, the 19th century. Civil War. What do you have they didn't have? Automobile, they had no idea what that was. We've got them, we take them for granted. Number 2 is this: live in the present for the future. Now, I hear somebody say that we should live in the present, and other people said we should focus on the future, save for the future. I think, why not do both, you know? No, I don't mean to turn this into a Sunday school class, but there is a verse, I think it's in Proverbs, I can't remember, but it says something about a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. A lamp for my feet, well, they're underneath me. That's where I am right now. So I need to focus on my feet, because if I don't, I'm going to trip and stumble. But I need a light for my path so I see the future, right? So both. A lot of times, particularly in the summer months, I like to go out and walk at night because it's cooler. And there's less traffic. And there's fewer dogs running around because people keep them indoors at nighttime. But when I walk, it's dark. So I need a light. So I have a lamp for my feet, a flashlight, and I have a light for my path. I have a light that I put on my hat, or I have a light that I put on my belt. And I can see where I'm going. Same thing is true in life. Where are you right now? Now, another way to say this, we may delve into this again in a few minutes, but keep in mind that what you do today affects what you will be tomorrow. Now, I've lost, since the 1990s, I've lost 120 pounds. I've lost almost half of me. This morning I weighed just under 140. But back then I weighed 260. I mean, I was twice as big almost as I am now. So in a sense, I've lost 100% of me. How did that happen? Well, the frame of mind that I used was, what you eat today is what you will weigh tomorrow, or what you will be tomorrow. And that just forced me to focus that light on my feet today, what I'm doing today. Now, you may not be overweight, that's not the issue. But you may be into weightlifting. What you do today will determine how much muscle you add tomorrow. And that applies to virtually everything. Number 3 is this: focus on self-awareness. Now, that's part of the light for my lamp for my feet. But it's a good thing to listen to your own thoughts. I think a lot because I like to go out and take walks, and it gives me a chance to think, let my mind just kind of wander and focus. A lot of people I see walking, they wear earbuds and they're listening to somebody else think and somebody else talk. And I'm okay with that because that's what works for them. But sometimes what works for one guy doesn't work for the other. So I like to be in tune with my thoughts because it allows me to just be in touch with myself. And there's two things that I want to focus on. I want to focus on what is out of sight. And I want to focus on what is inside. So I have my insights, and I want to stop and think about my insights. But I also want to think about outsights. Isn't that a word? Things that I'm not thinking of on my own. So what I'm saying is this, basically. Take control of my thoughts. And when you let your mind wander, sometimes it goes the wrong direction, you know? Sometimes you get depressed. Sometimes you get reactive. Sometimes you get remorseful. Sometimes you stop and, man, you just think about how bad things are and your mind gets out of control. But we need to take control. We need to take control of our thoughts. And so when your mind is wandering, ask yourself this question. Who's in control? We're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. Number 4. Remember talking about weightlifters. Number 4 is embrace difficulties. I prefer to call them challenges. Well, let's say it this way. Embrace difficulties as challenges, as opportunities. Have you ever lifted weights? If you can, you should. You know, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube about the importance of weightlifting. I'm not talking about being a massive bodybuilder. You don't have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Probably don't want to now, but I mean the way he used to look. But, you know, lifting weights is difficult. It's hard, but particularly for those of us getting older. It helps our bones, you know, that muscle that's on our skeleton helps strengthen our bones because our bones get weak. And one of the reasons older people have such a difficult time with their osteoporosis is because they neglected just to exercise. I mean, there's a thing that says motion is lotion. I'm not going to exercise because it hurts. Motion is lotion. Sometimes you get rid of the hurt by doing things. Talk to your doctor before you start doing this. But I'm not talking about lifting weights. I'm talking about any kind of challenge, any kind of difficulty. Weightlifting is just an analogy. So as we go through life, that's the future. As we go through the next 24 hours, that's a lamp for my path, we are going to face difficulties. Things are going to happen to us. All right, so I'm kind of turning it into a Sunday school lesson, and another thought comes to mind. There is a biblical passage that refers to people as vessels. That is to say, we're things that you put things in. You know, a glass is a vessel. I've got an example right here. See if I can get this on the screen. This is am I out of focus? This is a Pepsi bottle. This is a diet Pepsi bottle. Speaking of losing weight. There, I'm back in focus. But this Pepsi bottle is a vessel. And it's made for soft drinks. It's made for Pepsi. It's what it's made for. There's all kinds of vessels. You know, we've got, my wife's birthday is coming around. Does every year. And I like to buy her flowers. And flowers come in a flower pot. Or a vase or vase, depending on where you live. That's a vessel. It's made for flowers. Okay, let's get gross and disgusting. You ready? We have a toilet in our house. Yes, we do. I'm guessing you have one too. And that's a vessel. What's it for? Well, you know what it's for. Now, having said that, let me ask you this question. You ready? So you got these two vessels, and if you had to do with one and do without the other, we're talking about the toilet and the vase or vase or flower pot that you put the flowers in. Which would you get rid of and which one would you keep? I don't know about you, but the flower pot's gone. And the other pot, yeah, I'm going to keep that one. Now, the reason I say that is because along with this biblical narrative, this biblical lesson, it says that some vessels are for honor and some are made for dishonor. And your vessel, who you are, your body is your vessel, your life is your vessel, your personality is your vessel, your autism is part of your vessel. And some people would say, well, autism is made for dishonor. It's not a good thing, it's a bad thing. Now hang on a second. Seriously? I know this is kind of gross, but I think it's a good point. I would say the toilet is not an honorable vessel, but I don't want to do without it. Now, a flower pot, that's a very honorable vessel. You put that in the center of your table. That's the centerpiece. It has a place of honor. But quite frankly, you can do without that. So if you are a vessel that is not honored, you may just be indispensable. So we need to be, or rather we need to embrace difficulties. Even though we are that vessel for dishonor, embrace it, welcome it, sometimes flesh it. Number 5 is this: be an observer. A lot of people with autism, and I have this experience myself, we feel like we're living in a movie. We're not an actor, we're an observer, and the movie is life. We're not a part of it, it just kind of happens to us. And there we are in the middle of it. Yeah, I know my voice is kind of raspy, my apologies, but it will clear up, not tonight, obviously. That's one of those challenges. You just kind of move right through it. But we're in a movie when we're around people. At least that's the way a lot of people with autism feel. Asperger syndrome. It's the way I feel nearly all the time, and it's frustrating. But when we're in that movie, we need to stop and think that maybe we have the perspective of a critic. Now, when I say a critic, I don't mean negative critic. I mean objective. Let's don't say critic. Let's say analyst. Because we are in that position of an observer, we are a movie analyst. We're very good at analyzing lives and life because other people, neurotypical people, they are so invested in life, they don't see it. They're part of it. They're not seeing the outside looking in. They're inside, and most of them don't bother to look out. That's why we're kind of invisible, you know? But we have a perspective they don't have. So the point is, number 5 is how to optimize autism is be an observer. Okay, we're in the movie. We're not part of it. We're an observer. So what? There's an opportunity. Earlier I said critic, and then I changed it to analyst because I think it sounds better. Number 6 is this: hone, H-O-N-E, hone, adaptation to change. I don't know about you, but I don't like change. Most people with Asperger syndrome, or Asperger syndrome as they say in Australia, with autism, we don't like change. You know, I mean, yeah, we can deal with it most of the time, but it's not necessarily a pleasant thing. But we need to learn to be adaptive to change for this reason. Let's imagine, good analogy, I think you're the captain of a ship. I have never sailed a boat in my life. I don't think I've ever rowed a boat. I don't even like water. I can't even swim, but that's beside the point. Now, you're a captain of a ship, and you're out on the high seas, who knows where. And are you going to let the wind blow you about? Are you going to let the waves dictate where they're going to take you? Not if you're a good captain. If you're a good sailor, you're going to take advantage of the changes in the wind to get you where you're going. You're going to take advantage of the current to get you where you're going. I was reading a story in the news yesterday, 20-some years ago. There was a class of students And they wrote notes and put them in bottles. Part of a class project, they were studying, what would you call it? The way the sea patterns, the way the ocean moves. The term escapes my mind. So, as a part of their study, they wrote little notes and they put them in bottles and they threw them in the ocean. Apparently, their school was near the Atlantic Ocean. And they would find out, in the note, it asked whoever found it to contact them. And what they discovered was most of their bottles wound up in France. But one of them nobody found until, just last week, I guess. So there was a Frenchman. He was a fisherman by trade. And he just kind of, walking along cleaning junk off the shore. He found this bottle that some kid had thrown in the water years ago, decades ago. And, he sent a letter to the school and addressed this kid who was probably in his 30s by now. And the school got the letter. They didn't know what to do with it, but they understood what it was. And what that tells us is this. The waves of life, the winds of life, will just kind of blow us wherever they want to take us. So, if you're in that school and you want to go to France, just sit out and don't do anything. You'll go to France. Might take you 20 years, but you'll get there. But what if you don't want to go to France? What if you want to go to Britain? Or what if you want to go to, South America? Well, you can't be blown about. Same thing is true in life. If you have a destination, then you've got to adapt to change. But when I say adapt to change, what I mean is use it to your advantage. But if we adapt to change in the sense that we're just a bottle with a message in the ocean, then that's the wrong kind of adaptation. That's allowing the winds and the currents, that's the word I was trying to think of, couldn't think of it, take us wherever it wants to take us. Now, number 7 is this: don't be a conformist. That's what we were talking about just now. When you allow the current, the winds of life to take you wherever you want, what you're doing is you are conforming to life experiences. Don't do that. Use them. Don't let them blow you about. Number 8 is this: embrace empathy, or we could say embrace compassion. That's not just for other people, but it's also for yourself. Years ago, I was broke, just out of money, When you're out of money and you have bills to pay, that's a problem. You may have been there before, you may be there now. But one of the bills we need to pay was our gas bill, our heat bill. And if I didn't come up with $500, they're going to turn off our heat. And I got a wife and I got 2 little kids. And there was a guy in church, walked up and handed me 5 $100 bills. That was empathy, that was compassion. He was embracing that, and I learned. And I decided, you know what? Eventually, I'm going to get to a place where I'm not broke all the time. And, I did get to that place, started a business, did well. And guess what? We had a young couple in our church, and they needed, here's inflation for you, they needed $750 to pay their gas bill. I knew what to do. I just wrote him a check for $750, and I told him, you don't owe me anything, but what I'd like you to do is pass this on. And to whomever you pass it on to, tell them to pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. I don't know if it's still going or not. Maybe it is. But embrace compassion, embrace empathy, because we tend to focus as people who are autistic because we, to be honest with you, talk about the winds of life, the storms of life, we seem to be right in the middle of it all the time. We get blown around quite a bit, particularly when we're younger, but it lasts a lifetime. And if we don't embrace compassion, and if we don't embrace empathy, that will, those negative things, those hurtful things, will embrace us. And the way to break free, the way to break loose of that, is to employ or embrace empathy and embrace compassion. That's not denial. I'm not saying ignore diversity or difficulties, rather, because we need diversity or difficulties, because that is our wind, that is our current, that we are, trimming our sails to get us through life. We need those things, but also they can be very uncomfortable. I don't know about you. I'm not really keen on sailing a ship, but I don't want to sail one in a hurricane. But when you're autistic, you find yourself in a lot of hurricanes, a lot of storms, a lot of tornadoes. Analogies just kind of run amok here. So we need the opportunity to break free of those things every chance we can. And the best way that I found to do that is to express empathy through others. That's not denial. That doesn't make the storms of life go away, but it helps me, and I think it'll help you navigate. It's part of the navigation process. Number 9 is this. Do not rely on relationships. Now, I say this from experience because I have been disappointed so many times. I would have good friends come along. Nah, they were play acting. They were not friends. They were presenting themselves like used car salesmen, pretending to be your friend so they could take advantage of you. You've been there. I almost guarantee you, if you're autistic, you've been there. You know what it's like. And I found that I'm gullible, And I say that's part of autism. I just believe anybody, if they're friendly, I believe they're a friend. And I can't seem to distinguish the difference. I think the used car salesman really likes me. But for some reason, after the sale is over, and he gets his check and his commission, he didn't seem to like me anymore. What happened there? Well, that's the way people are in general. They take advantage of other people. And people who are autistic, we're low-hanging fruit. I mean, right there, easy to grab. And they will grab us, It's kind of like throwing a bunny rabbit to a pack of hungry wolves. You know it, right? You've been there. And sometimes those wolves come after us, but they don't say, "Hi there, my name is Wolf, and I'm here to devour you." What are we going to do? We're going to get out of there, but that's not the way they do it. Well, some of them do, but a lot of people, they pretend to be a friend. They're used car salesmen. And we are so disappointed, we are so hurt when that relationship, which never existed in the first place, it was a FAUX relationship. We're so hurt, we're so wounded when that's gone. But what if we just don't rely on those? What if we understand that sometimes just a few genuine relationships are infinitely more valuable than a million fake relationships that are pretense, pretending, whatever. The number 10 is this. Keep life simple. If you're autistic, I think you're probably already good at this. It's kind of like something you just do without thinking about it. But ask yourself this question. We talked earlier about making a list of things that your parents didn't have that you have, so we can focus on what's positive and what's good. But keep life simple by focusing on, again, you can make a list of, maybe I'll make a video on this one, a list of things that are most important to you. What is number 1? I don't know what is number one in your life, but something has to be more important to you than anything else. Something else is number two. We talked about the vessels, remember? Sometimes the vessel of honor is not the most important vessel. Now, I've got an old Ford pickup truck. I love my truck. And we also have a relatively new sedan. I think it's a Hyundai. I should know, right? But if I love my pickup truck. I mean, I just really like that truck. But if I had to do without one of them, the truck's got to go. Because it's old. 69, man, it's almost 25 years old. And you know, when a vehicle gets that old, well, long before they get that old, they start to break down. Right this very minute, even as we speak. My truck has a heater problem. Can't find a part for it. And it's going to be December in a couple weeks. I love my Ford pickup truck, but I don't like to drive it when it's 20 degrees out. And the heater doesn't work. So if I have to choose one over the other, if I have to prioritize my vehicles, well, the car, we don't have a close relationship, but it's reliable, it's dependable, like I have with the Ford. That's the one I'm going to keep. So when we're keeping life simple, streamlining life, and again, autistic people are very good at putting things in order. Number one is what? Number two is what? Name the top 10 things. Top 10 most important things to you. I mean, how simple is that? So if we're going to navigate life, optimize autism, these are some of the things, and this is just a partial list. I could probably, with the help of some others, probably think of hundreds or thousands, but okay, I just made a list, top 10. Maybe not in order, but 10 nonetheless. Did you get something out of this video? If you did, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hopefully you already have, but if not, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget, share it on social media, and I'm betting you have some opinions, some ideas. So if you put those in the comment section, other people will benefit. So that's something you can do right now to help other people. See you next time.